Dr. Bowden, for your remarks. To introduce our keynote speaker, please welcome Chanel Goods, Vice President of our chapter of the Association of Black Social Workers.
Good evening, everyone. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Ausar Winkler Jr. Dr. Dennis Ausar Winkler Jr., affectionately known as Dr. Dar, was born on January 22nd, 1979 in Baltimore, Maryland, and is an accomplished entrepreneur, psychotherapist, educator, and community advocate. Married to his high school sweetheart, Camille Winkler, they share two sons, Dennis III and Jamil. Dr. Winkler graduated magna cum laude from Sojourner Douglas College with a BA in administration and earned his MS in clinical mental health counseling from Loyola University in Maryland, focusing on spirituality and psychology. He holds a Ph.D. in counseling education and supervision from Waynesburg University, where his dissertation was titled Measuring the Relationship of Race-Based Trauma, Racial Identity, and Spirituality. A lifelong entrepreneur, Dr. Winkler has founded various businesses and institutions in various sectors. To mention a few, he is the founder of TNAT Holistic Wellness Center, co-owner of Diasporian Soul Jamaican and American Fusion Restaurant, and co-founder of the Brothers Helping Brothers Men's Group Initiative. He previously served as an assistant professor of graduate counseling at Waynesburg University, where he's prepared master's and PhD students for the field of counseling. Currently, he teaches part-time at Bowie State University in their Department of Counseling and Psychological Studies. Dr. Winkler is respected for his Black, African-centered approaches to counseling and psychotherapy, aiding in the growth and development of individuals, families, and communities, particularly within the Black community. In 2023, Dr. Winkler received the Dr. Maxie T. Collar Phoenix Arising Award, People's Choice for Impact on Mental Health and Substance Abuse in the Black community, a national honor from the Black Mental Health Alliance. He was also recognized by Grand Temple 13 in 2022 for his sincere commitment to uplifting the community by UNIA-ACL on February 24, 2024. For his perseverance and dedication to the African community, and received an award on March 24, 2019 for his perseverance and commitment to the African community. Additionally, he received the Entrepreneurial Spirit Award from the Moorish Science Temple of America, MST of A, Inc., number 78, in 2008 in recognition for his achievements. In 2023, he was honored with the Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Award in Baltimore for his contributions to the community. Throughout his career, Dr. Winkler has received numerous awards and honors recognizing his contributions to mental health, community development, and education. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Winkler.
Thank you, Ms. Engel, for your comments. Please stand and give a hand for our keynote speaker, Dr. Winkler.
Greetings. How's everybody doing? Good evening to the esteemed faculty and leadership of the Department of Social Work, to the family and the community, gathered here in love and support, and most importantly, to the graduating class of 2025. It is my deep honor to be with you this evening. I'm being honest. It is my deep honor. I appreciate being here. I know the struggle. I know the rising. I know it. So let me stick to my notes because I do have a time limit too. And I promise I'm going to stick to my notes so that we can get through this. But it's okay to give me some call and response, and it just makes it faster, okay? You know, from a Black African centered perspective. So again, greetings all. Thank you, Dr. Butley and others for the invitation to share this sacred moment, and to each of you being pinned tonight. No, this is not just a ceremony. No, this is not just a ceremony. It is a rite of passage. A moment that affirms not only what you've completed, but who you are becoming. Who you are becoming, because the work ain't done. Because you will continuously evolve in our community. Let me get back to my notes. We've got to get back to what I'm calling culture. We are social workers who are socially intervening, so we have to infuse culture in it. And I want that to stick. If nothing sticks tonight, I want the culture piece to stick. I want you to ask the question, what is this culture that he's talking about? Because culture itself is healing. Culture is that which allows you to organize yourself in ways to operate in an orderly fashion. It also allows communities to do the same. It also allows individuals, communities, and what I call the leads, internally, communally, familially, or whatever, to operate. So we have to operate in culture. And when I say culture again, I don't mean just style or language. I mean culture as the organizing system. The one that roots us, aligns us, guides us. So whenever I walk, I bring in my elders. I bring in my ancestors. They call it libation. So I call on Mama Harriet Tubman. Y'all know Mama Harriet Tubman? I call on Dr. Amos Wilson. If you don't know his name, look him up. I call on Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. If you don't know her name, look her up. On the unspoken ones who stood without titles but never without power. And I call on Barbara Leonard Dunstan. If you're a social worker, you probably should study him. He just passed on recently. I'm sorry. So I'm going to be very counselor-like. I don't use should, but I'm going to suggest. Okay? All right. The Barbara Leonard Dunstan, past president of the National Association of Black Social Workers, who reminded us that black social work must not only serve the people, but reflect the soul of the people. From a black or African-centered perspective, or social science perspective, libation is not a metaphor. It's something that you walk in. I call it a living libation that honors that our ancestors laid down for us. It's a spiritual practice and a cultural protocol to call on those who have come before me and us so that you can live, so they can lift us forward. Because we are standing on their shoulders. I want to press upon it. We are standing on our elders' shoulders. In every other community, I'm not saying we're not, but I just want to press upon you that we can do it and be proud of it. Period. Y'all say it with me. Period. Because we're from Baltimore, we said period. So period, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors. We have greats who walk with us. I named the film today. And as the sister said earlier, who came up and gave the tribute, I want to echo what she says, or said. Until the lion, from an African proverb, it says, until the lion tells the story, the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Again, until the lion tells the story, the hunt will always glorify the hunter. This year's theme, from resilience to revolution, the journey continues, is not just timely, it's sacred. It reminds us, surviving is not the end of the story. Surviving is not the end of the story. It's just part of the story. It's the beginning of another chapter, one that calls us not only to heal, but to hold space, but to also build. But not only to rise, but to reimagine. we must reimagine what this world would look like, what we want the world to look like, to reimagine what we want our future to be like. We are often trained in silos. Social work, counseling, psychology, psychiatry, each with its own lens. And while each has its value, they are incomplete on their own. While each has its value, it's incomplete on its own. In an African-centered or black-centered framework, we don't separate systems from souls. We don't split the internal from the external. We understand the sacred wisdom of both and. Both ands. Everybody say with me, both and. Understand that is a powerful concept, a precept that our ancestors always taught. Both and is not this or that, it's both and. We don't splinter, separate, compartmentalize. We look at things on a spectrum and from various angles. And that's powerful. Liberation requires us to integrate, not fragment. To move beyond the Western mindset that treats people as problems in isolation. Our ancestors didn't compartmentalize, they harmonized. You can say you're free, but if your mind is colonized, your behavior is still controlled. As I often say, what's happening to your mind is ultimately running your behind. What is happening to your mind ultimately runs your behind. From a clinical standpoint, your neurological wiring is shaped by what it repeatedly thinks. What you think shapes how you feel, and how you feel shapes how you behave. So if your internal world is shaped by systems that were never meant for it, or never to serve it, and you are operating in it blindly, you are not free. We are not free if we're operating from that capacity. You're just regulated inside of someone else's design. And I want to talk about that because social work talks about systems. Is that not right? Y'all learned a lot of things about systems. Y'all can name some of the macro, meso, all that, right? Y'all know all that thing, right? Y'all be out there telling y'all friends macro and meso and all this fancy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, again, so your internal world is shaped by the systems that were never meant to serve you. That is systems thinking. There's one thing called systems theory, but I want us to think from a systems level, systems thinking. Question always. Think deeper, think longer, think stronger, think further. Don't just accept anything, any theory. Ask about it. Where did it come from? Who does it serve? Because systems don't randomly malfunction. They don't just malfunction. What am I saying? We are in a system today, right? We can feel it now, but the system has always been the way it is in a certain way. The system has been set up for this to happen. It's not by happenstance. So I want us to understand, even when it feels good, we have to still fight and change and work and struggle to bring about what we call liberation, revolution. The theme of today, revolution, resilience is necessary, but it's not suffice. We've been resilient for a long time. It is necessary, but we must understand being resilient and revolution are two different things. I'm trying to get back on my notes. But we must understand that one is necessary, but again, we must not conflate it because we will believe we arrived when we just got given something. You know, y'all heard about critical race theory. Lots of times y'all heard of interest convergence. So if you understand that interest convergence, people give you things to serve their own interests. Many times we think we earned something. I said they rented it to you, and now they took it back. So we have to change something stronger in a more thorough sense. Because what we've been doing is not enough, but you are the minds that have the ability to further exactly what it is that our ancestors fought for. So the fight is not over. You have not rite of passage at this point to now take those skills, talents, and abilities out and serve the world. But not only serve the world, in order to truly serve the world, you have to change the world. You cannot, I promise you, we will become neatly comfortable with the systems, our degrees, or whatever the degree is, and you'll continue to go on. But understand the system is always trying to create a complacency in you. Even when you think it isn't, it is. Because you learn fancy language, you learn fancy tools, you learn all these things, and they serve you. They serve people. But again, we're going to talk about both and. We need both. And we need those systems to serve us. We need Band-Aids, but we understand that sometimes Band-Aids aren't enough to deal with certain levels of trauma. And when we're talking about, we're in a society that has been built on trauma from traumatized people before us. And what I mean by traumatized people, is we always talking about examining us as being traumatized. Turn that mirror around to the other people. Because it had to be a traumatized people to traumatize people to that degree. So we understand we have to also examine them. Pardon. Because we ain't all messed up. I just want to be honest. We ain't messed up at all. Y'all understand, y'all learn things about trauma, right? When you learn things about trauma, you realize that you are responding to the society and the environment that the person is in. So now don't pathologize us because we are responding to a system that has tried to hurt us, but not only tried to hurt us, that has hurt us, but it has not killed us. It has not quieted our life. So understand, don't pathologize yourselves. Don't even pathologize our communities because we are resilient. But again, resilient is not enough. We must go to the next level called revolution. Yes. And the next level of revolution requires us to think differently. That's right. Because if we think, I'm talking about even the fancy education you got today. Your professors probably already told you, look, we got to teach you this. That you get two educations when you're in a black institution. You get the one that you got to do, and you get the other that you got to do on your own. But luckily, if you're in a black institution, a black professor is going to tell you both. And you wasn't like, I went to Loyola, I had to do both on my own. I had to do that one and that one. But I was already, I was a sojourner at the college, so I was already backing up. So again, I don't know where I'm at on these notes, but I probably went past all the pages. And I'm going to just let it flow, so pardon me. Thank y'all for entertaining me. But the Black Panther Party said it like this. So they created survival programs, pending revolution. And we have to understand the difference between survival programs and revolution. Let me give you some examples of what they said. They fed the children. They offered health care. They stood guard. Not because those programs would free us, but because they were necessary responses to hold us over. That's the difference between holding us over and true revolution. Until we could reimagine the structure itself, we haven't even started to touch the edge of what revolution requires. So again, from resilience to revolution, the journey continues. Too often in the social sciences, such as social work, counseling, psychology, sociology, what have you, we mistake adaptation for transformation. We get good at helping people survive in systems that were never designed for their thriving. But the survival is not the goal. It's the bridge. Both and. You need to survive to get there, but know that that is not the end goal. So again, but survival is not the goal, it's the bridge. It is what we do until we can dismantle and rebuild. That's the shift. From resilience to revolution, the journey continues. I said this earlier, it was micro, meso, macro. Y'all learned a lot about it. But again, systems theory is not enough alone. Systems theory is like adjusting a thermostat. You're managing the discomfort. System thinking is asking the questions that I spoke about earlier. It says, who built the house? Why does the heat skip the basement? Why is the insulation missing certain rooms? Why is insulation missing in certain rooms? You can't just keep adjusting the temperature. If the house was never meant to hold you, eventually you have to redesign the blueprint. So I'm not sure if you heard this term called second order change. Second order change is like you just can't change behaviors. You have to change the thinking behind it. Not just regulation. We have to have, as the president said, transformation. Dr. Marimba teaches culture is not just expression. It is ordered behavior. It is an organizing system. And if we are not operating intentionally within our own, then we are operating within someone else's. As Dr. Henry Gregory reminds us, one of my elders, one of my Bibles, one of my mentors, he says, we are past the day where we can be laissez-faire. If we are not intentional, we are participating in someone else's intention. If we are not intentional, we are participating in someone else's attention. Let's take it deeper. Just like the survival of an intimate partner of violence may be conditioned to believe that they can't leave that relationship, that they can't change the situation. Many of us have been conditioned to feel the same way about this oppressive system. I was in a meeting not too long ago, and they said, so what are we going to do if we change the system? I said, see, if Dr. Amos Wilson talks about, again, I said I'm bringing my elders, my ancestors with me, right? As Dr. Amos Wilson talks about, we are afraid of what he called the white boogeyman. You have it in you. We have it within us to make the change. It may not be always comfortable, but we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable if we want true change. Y'all know that, right? Y'all talk that. That's what y'all heard. Y'all gonna be working with people in groups and communities and something like you're gonna have to go through. Reverend Mendicum, another book, he says, my grandmother's hands. He says that there's something called dirty pain and clean pain. And many times we get stuck in the dirty pain. And that dirty pain is that pain that you stay in because it's comfortable. The clean pain is that when you have to make change, but you know it hurts. It hurts to leave. It hurts to set boundaries. But you got to set. So we got to set boundaries with the system that is disturbing us. And that's what I'm saying. So family, faculty, I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. Let's get past some of these notes. But I did want to say this. Again, from resilience to revolution, the journey continues. We can exit, we can heal, we can rebuild. Much of what I've shared today is rooted in a larger framework that I'm developing. That framework is called Ingia. It's actually the same title of a book I have, Ingia, The Journey of Both And, a sacred framework for reclaiming psychology, psychotherapy, and collective healing and rebuilding. And I don't mention this for promotion, I mention it as an offering because we need frameworks that are culturally rooted, spiritually aligned, unapologetically ours. You will be responsible for building this. Y'all take that serious? Y'all ready to build these frameworks? All right. We all don't build them, but we're going to have to identify what frameworks work for us. You know? You don't have to use it just because they said this is the one. You can operate in our frameworks. And believe me, they might not always be right in front of you, but you can find them. So Ingia is about moving beyond fragments, beyond survival, towards wholeness, towards sacred clarity. What we are witnessing today is not just a ceremony. Again, it is a rite of passage. This pen does not say you are finished. It says you are ready. Ready to build the world we want to see. Ready to disrupt what was never meant to hold us. Ready to honor what has been and reimagine what can be. You have willpower. You have ability. You have skill sets. But as you step forward, carry this question or carry these questions with you. What theory, what model, what framework, what paradigm am I using? I understand this moment. to understand this moment, to engage in this moment, to intervene, to transform. Because if we don't ask that question, we may be working hard within a world that never was meant to liberate us. So ask boldly, build wisely, love deeply, and intervene with sacred clarity. This is your charge. From resilience to revolution, the journey continues, and the journey, you're right, is just beginning. Again, congratulations to the class of 2025. I want to impress upon you, don't let what's shared here today to go in one ear and out the other. That's not shade, that's system level observation, because we tend to do that. Because these systems we live in, they are wired and created in a way to help us forget. Just about every system I've ever studied, been trained in, or taught about has been culturally groomed to filter out the very things that are essential to revolution. Let me say it again. Just about every system, just about, not all, but just about every system I've been trained in, I studied, it filtered out the necessary ingredients of revolution. So it is not just individual distraction. It is structural resistance, resistance to clarity, to resistance to truth, resistance to what calls us to build differently. So let this message interrupt that pattern and let it stay with you. Long after the applause dies down, we need more than safe spaces. Safe spaces protect, but sacred spaces, they transform. Safe spaces let us exhale. Sacred spaces challenges us to rise. And as we move from resilience to revolution, we don't just need one or the other. We need both and. We need the micro and the macro. We need the policy and the poetry, qualitative and quantitative, clinical precision, cultural discernment, comfort and carriage. Because our liberation isn't built on either or. It is built on sacred tension and integration. Thank y'all for your time.